Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful global read for Kids and Company. And we are very excited today to have Scarlett Lewis, the author, and Catherine Gutsky as the facilitator. As you know, the book is Choosing Love, A Pathway to Flourishing. And Scarlett has a presentation of the book so you can all read it with us. And so let's get started. If there are any questions, you can put them in the chat. And then I will field them as I think, there's a lull in the conversation. And I can't wait to hear more. Thank you both very much. And I'm handing over and I'm going away now. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn, so much. Oh, what an honor to be here today. And thanks to all for joining and for listening in. But yeah, it's a real honor to be here with Miss Scarlett Lewis, who has inspired me so much. We haven't known each other that long. We've become fast friends and collaborators. And, am so grateful to know you, Scarlett, and to have you in my life, and for the really important, critical work that you're doing in the world. Of course, I don't like why you've had to go down this path, and yet what you have done with such a tragedy, losing Jesse, is profound. And what I've seen with people activating your program around the world. So thank you so much for being here today, for being who you are, for doing the work you're doing in the world that is so incredibly important.
Thank you, Catherine. I feel the same about you. Catherine and I are actually really, really good friends. So this is very fun for us to do together. We were really excited to be with you guys today. And Catherine runs the Shine Hope Company. Is it the Shine Hope Company?
Yeah, and iFred.
Shine Hope Company and iFred. And Catherine also has a story behind her organization. It's about her dad who took his life, and she wanted to do something that helped other people that felt that way to have hope. And so she has created this incredible organization called Shine Hope. You see that word behind her, and hope is so important. The incredible thing that is connected about the two of us is that Catherine spreads hope, and so many of the other things that the Choose Love movement does as well. And our focus is on love. And so they go really, really well together. I run the Choose Love movement, which offers no cost essential life skills learning. You can go on our website, chooselovemovement.org, and have access to it as soon as you register. It's infant toddler. So if you have a young one that's in daycare, you definitely want to tell your daycare about this, or definitely introduce it. It's no cost, and it's all about brain health and what you can be doing for your child and for caregivers. And then pre-K through 12th grade. And really, it's such a huge part of addressing the root cause of suffering later in life. You get these essential life skills that lead and are a path to flourishing. And that gets me to, my book. And that's actually why I called it Choosing Love, because we can choose love. It's pretty cool, and we can strengthen our love muscle. And I called it a pathway to flourishing because that's what choosing love is. And of course, that's what we all want for our kids. It's what we want for ourselves. It's what we want to be able to model for our children. And so that's the title of the book. And the title of the book, the cover of the book actually is an original watercolor. All of the pictures in this book are original watercolors. And this one is literally of my kitchen. And it shows my son, Jesse, doing exactly what he did before he died. He wrote a message on our kitchen chalkboard, and it was nurturing, healing, love. Now you see that the nurturing and the healing are phonetically spelled, just like our little kids might do when they're sounding out words and they're just learning how to write. But I knew what he meant there. And I realized that that was the solution, that people that feel good about themselves, people that can grow through difficulty in their life, that have the courage to face it, that have the nurturing environment and some skills and tools to be able to move through it, can flourish. They can flourish and excel and thrive because of the difficulty in their life. You know, pain actually has a purpose, and it's there to help us grow. And I do a lot of work in classrooms, you know, and sometimes I have a slide that shows a roller coaster. And I remember one time I was saying, you know, life is like, well, I was saying life is like the tube man, you know, that blows up and you go up and down and up and down, and kind of like a roller coaster. And I remember a couple kids raising their hand and saying, but it seems to stay down longer than it goes up. And I said, you know, you can have skills and tools that help you get back on the path up to joy. And joy is possible for everyone. And so both Catherine and I have dedicated our lives to spreading these messages. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Catherine. It's so wonderful when you can meet somebody on a similar path that you admire and respect, and that's very smart and can give you some really good advice. There's a huge amount of trust that we have developed between the two of us, and we try to help each other. We hold each other accountable. We push each other. And I'm just so grateful to have you in my life.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And here's the, like, what I love, and you know, we have similar, you know, I say hope is teachable, and you hope the same thing with love. Love is a teachable kind of skill. It's a muscle. You know, you had every reason to not be loving and to choose hatred, and you chose love, and you practice what you talk about every day in every work, in every encounter you have, every interaction. And to me, what's more important than love, you know, and teaching kids in the classrooms how to love. You know, we talk about love, but really, when you are faced with really hard challenges and tragedies, how do you choose love? Like, how do you do that? And so what I love about the work you're doing, the program, is you have a formula that teaches how, and I would love to just share that before we get really into the book and what inspired the book. But how do you teach love?
You know what's interesting? Like, half of the Choose Love movement and what we teach and the formula was also a search for myself, for my own personal healing. I happened to be, at the time of Jesse's death, he was 6 years old. He had an older brother that was 12. And I'm a single mom. I was the sole provider, you know, looking out for him. So I was his model for how to move forward. And I wanted him to have joy. That word kept staying in my head. We'd had so much of it before the tragedy, and I wanted us to get back there again. And I realized that, you know, it was going to be my choices and he was going to follow suit. And so understanding that I was modeling this really helped me rise to the occasion. And so I did develop this formula with a lot of help of experts as well, but it's a simple formula, and it is neuroscientifically, by the way, accurate in helping return our locus of control, which is location of our personal power, back inside us, where we can choose, where we have self-confidence in our abilities, that where we feel self-worth, where we feel that we're enough. And it's where we come from a place of love. It's when we're in our full power, and it's when we can make the changes necessary to create a better life for us. And that is the definition of hope. And so I started this. So this book is about the formula, and the formula starts with courage. And it's actually and the reason, well, courage, as you know, as Aristotle said, one of the Stoics, courage is the most important character value because it underlies every single other character value. So you need courage to practice the rest of the character values in the formula. And courage is like a muscle. We can practice it. And for me, an incredible examples of this courage are my boys. Jesse at 6 years old, he actually saved 9 of his classmates' lives before losing his own, which is really stunning. And his older brother, after hearing about the tragedy and losing his only brother, or his youngest brother, he has a stepbrother too, he started an organization himself at 12 years old called Newtown Helps Rwanda, and he started raising money by selling these bands to build self-sustaining fish ponds for former children soldiers and poultry operations. He sent orphan genocide survivors from Rwanda to universities. So I was just so inspired by both of my boys. And I thought, wow, what happens in my child's school, what happens in my community, I really, it's my responsibility too. And so, I didn't want to be another victim, helpless, hopeless. I wanted to be part of the solution. And so I decided that I was going to do things a little bit differently than they were being done, which hadn't worked for my child up until then. And I decided really to take an approach that addressed the root cause. So by example, I had the courage. I literally quit my job and started this foundation. I had never done anything like that before, but I knew that it was necessary. So courage and practicing that courage muscle and getting out of your comfort zone into your growth zone is so important. And every time you do it, you're growing that courage muscle. And then the second character value is gratitude, being grateful for what you have. And of course, you need courage to be grateful when things aren't going your way. And, if you have a regular practice of gratitude, the research behind practicing these character values is enormous. If you have a regular practice of gratitude, it literally fortifies you from the inside out to move through difficulty when it comes your way with more strength and grace. It's really amazing. And then also gives you kind of energy to consider forgiveness. And that's the third character value. And, when people hear that, they kind of, forgiveness, people aren't really exactly sure what it is. In fact, when I started out, they told me that forgiveness is too lofty a subject. We really can't teach kids about forgiveness because they won't understand. But what I learned is that we didn't really understand what forgiveness was. And there are decades of research behind the benefits of forgiving for the forgiver. We think it's a gift that we give somebody that hurt us, that doesn't deserve it, when in reality, the gift is for ourselves. Oh my goodness, you have healthier relationships. And of course, Harvard University said that healthy relationships were the key to happiness. You have less anger, you have better physical, mental, and emotional health. You have a longer lifespan. You have better immunity. I mean, it's just really, really eye-popping. And the major thing for me about forgiveness, because it's a very important part of the formula for me, because when I forgave the man who perpetrated the crime against Jesse, I was able to move forward with my personal power intact. I was able to not allow someone else to control how I think, my thoughts. how I feel, because your thoughts directly relate to how you feel, and my actions then, because how you feel shows up in your actions and how you show up in relationships. And so I was able to fully take my personal power back and move forward. And then that moves us to compassion in action. And that is when we have the courage to see a need. There are two components to compassion: to see a need within ourselves, because there's self-compassion, or another, and then act to help that need. And the amazing thing about the research in that is that when we do that, we help and heal ourselves. In other words, if I'm feeling lonely inside and I get the courage to have an outward focus and maybe give you a call, Catherine, and say, hey, I know you got a lot on your plate. Can I help you? Which you do a lot to me. And you know what? It helps and heals yourself. Little things. And parents listening, modeling this for your kids, they see you doing this, and there is research behind the ripple effect. You do model this for them, and they're learning. Even if you think they're not listening, they are watching, and they're learning from everything that you do, every word that comes out of your mouth, every facial expression, every gesticulation, the energy that you bring into a situation. And it's okay. No parent is perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. And but it's important that you say to the kids, hey, that wasn't my best self. I apologize. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try better. This is how I'm going to do it, and share your learning process with them. And just for me, just realizing that I'm modeling behavior for kids helps me rise to the occasion and try to be the best version of myself. So it's courage, gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion in action that bring that locus of control back inside of you. It helps with your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself. It gives you the personal power to be able to choose love as a thoughtful response in any situation, circumstance, or interaction. And by the way, when you choose love, you are in control. And so that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you said simple. It's a simple formula. Simple. It's right behind you. You all can see on the screen. Love that. Love the poster. I will also say it's not easy. So, it's not easy. And this is an intentional practice. And when you think about it, it's easy when nothing big happens, or, it can be easier. But when you go through seriously, it is very challenging. And that's like, you have to super power your love muscle during those times.
It's true. It's true. I mean, life is difficult. It just is. And we know that our kids are going to face pain. And it's really our responsibility to fortify them with the skills and tools that they need to manage that pain. And they can even grow through the pain. In fact, that's why the pain's there. The pain's there to shift us out of our comfort zone into our growth zone so that we learn, grow, and are strengthened. And when you have that awareness and that understanding, you have less fear of the pain. You're more able to have the courage to face it, to get curious and ask yourself, gosh, this doesn't feel good. This is an awful situation, but what are the lessons here that I can learn? How can I use this to grow? And most importantly, how can I use what I've learned from that situation to help other people?
Yeah, amazing. And so you have programs, let's just go into the journey a little bit. So you have the programs that are available for kids around the world, teachers to use with kids. It's being used around the world in so many classrooms, really created this movement. At what point did you write this book? At what point did the book come in?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I had written, before Jesse died, I had written a children's book called Roses Foal, and FOAL, Roses Foal. And it was about, and by the way, it was so cute because I live on a farm, and I had a foal is a baby horse. And so my horse had a foal, a baby, and I would take JT out in a little red flyer wagon with his little blankie and his pacifier every day to the barn to do the horses. And I would just see the beauty of this mother and child unfold. And I watched the mother horse teach her son, it happened to be a son, all these incredible lessons. And I thought about what they were. And I just thought about how we do the same thing as humans, and we teach a lot of the same lessons. So I took just these beautiful photographs. And so that became my first children's book. And I ended that book by saying, love never ends. Instead of the end, I ended it. And there were about 5 or 6 lessons in that book. And the last lesson was, and it shows Rose and her son, her baby foal, walking away, and you see the backs of them, but you see both of their heads looking at each other like she's talking to him. And what I thought she was saying was, even though we might not always be living together on the same farm, our love for each other will always be there. It transcends distance and time, forever and always. And then I ended on the next page with love never ends, because love never ends. And then when Jesse died, people looked at that and they felt that I had a sort of kind of spiritual knowing that something might happen. And that's why I wrote that. I don't think that, I know that I did, but I didn't, I wasn't aware of it then. Here's that picture. It's actually on the back of Jesse's mass card. And so really sweet. And then, so I wrote a book called Nurturing Healing Love about the first 6 months of my journey. And some really incredible signs that happened from Jesse that made me know that his spirit was still around me and provided so much comfort. Even the fact that he wrote Nurturing Healing Love on our kitchen chalkboard beforehand was incredible. And then I wrote another book about really more about the Choose Love movement once we had been out there and what was involved, and some testimonies from kindergarten to prisons to governors to this is really amazing educators, of course, principals. And then I had a dream when I was early 20s, and I was taking a art class. And by the way, I've had the same art teacher for 35 years. I take impressionistic oil painting. And so I always said to my art instructor, who, by the way, is a modern day Michelangelo, she travels all over the world painting murals. She's amazing. And I said, I want to write a book one day, and I want you to illustrate it. And she said, yeah, I'll do that, whenever you're ready. Well, 35 years later, I wrote her and I said, hey, I have an idea for a book, and I would really love for you to illustrate it. So we talked about what kind of illustration. Should it be very, very childish, animated? Should it be cartoonish? Should it be oil paintings? And I wanted to do kind of a different format of book with a lot of pages. So, doing all of those oil paintings would probably be too much and out of my, out of my budget. But we both decided on watercolors. So each of the pages of the book is a original watercolor, and just really beautiful. So I wrote the book, and my mom helped me edit it, which is usually what happens when I write articles and my other books. My mom's was an English teacher, and she has excellent grammar, and she's a great editor. So I actually said that both my mom and I wrote this because she did a lot of editing on this, which I really appreciate. And then Jane Davidian is my art instructor, and she did all of the pictures. So I actually have the book on slides that I can share with everybody, and we can go through it. Yeah.
They're amazing. It's really, really beautifully done.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to share this now. This is the cover for those of you who don't have the book. And Choose Love, you see this is the 10-year logo, but we've actually been around for 11 years. So here's a picture of Jane and me. This is in her studio in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I used to work at and do investment banking for a company down there. And so I would take twice a week from Jane, and I would paint because I never knew, if I was going to keep my job or not. But I just loved it. I loved it. I loved the being with her. I loved just the mindful practice of painting with her and learning different styles. And so this is 35 years later, and we're standing there. We have our book published. She sells it out of her shop, and I sell it on my website. She's just a dear friend. And by the way, I still travel down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I visit the shop. It's called Jane's Place. And if anybody has an interest, she has an Instagram account, and you can see, if you follow her, you can see just the incredible work that she does in people's homes around the world. I mean, she's the most incredible artist I've ever seen. And she does commission work. She travels. She's painted churches and bell towers and airplane hangars, and she is really incredible. So this is me painting in her studio. I'm painting kind of one of our iconic pictures of Jesse that I use in all of my presentations. This was Jesse at summer camp, his last year at summer camp, by the way, and he's giving a little peace sign, which I love. So I sit there and I paint, and if I have a question, Jane comes over and she helps me, which I love. You can tell I'm very happy.
You're an incredible artist. There's art everywhere, and it's amazing.
I have art everywhere. I have it stacked up everywhere. That's why my older son is like, can't we just have plain walls? I'm like, why? They're meant for art. So here's a picture of all 4 of the books: Nurturing Healing Love, From Sandy Hook to the World, Roses Foal was my first children's book, and then Choosing Love, A Pathway to Flourishing. And this is a picture of Jesse, and these are the unfortunately, his friends and teachers that died along beside him. But I call Choose Love Movement, Catherine, I call you and your team at Shine Hope as well, boots on the ground soldiers, but SOUL, capital letters, soldiers doing the work, because you and I travel nonstop. We work in schools, we work with communities, we work in businesses, and trying to spread the message, because people can learn this. And really, we need to have more of an intentional practice today, and it's more important than ever. I will show this. Jesse also left a message for his older brother. So he had written this Nurturing Healing Love message on our kitchen chalkboard, but he also wrote this little note that was folded up really tightly on JT's desk. And the first time he came home after losing his brother, he found this note. And I remember him coming out really excited to me, and he's like, Mom, Jesse left me a message. And he showed this to me. It was have a lot of fun. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful message for a little brother to leave an older brother. But it's also for us. I mean, we need to also have a lot of fun. Sometimes when we get stressed and we're anxious about things and fears creep in, this is the first thing that goes out the window. And we need to make sure that it's not. In the Choose Love movement, the 2 most important things are choosing love and having a lot of fun. So really important. I have a few pictures of Jesse. It's funny because he loved little military men, and you see this here. He had these little military men, and he'd line them up. He also loved the little yellow ducks, and he had a huge collection of those. He carried around a Spider-Man lunchbox, half with army men, half with ducks. So when we were thinking about what we wanted our logo to be, we knew we wanted to start in schools. We were kind of like, we wanted it to be Jessie-esque. So should we do military men or ducks? And so we decided ducks, obviously. This is Jesse out there in the pasture. He always wanted to play soccer. Oh my gosh, he grew up on the sidelines of his big brother's soccer games. JT played his whole life, so we were running around. And he always wanted to play soccer. And I signed him up at 6 when he was 6 years old, and he got to play one season actually like half a season. And so if you look down, you see his shin guards. Funny little story, like I could never find his socks that went with his uniform, and they were black. I could never find them. So he always wore his older brother's yellow socks that he had outgrown, that were part of one of his soccer uniforms years ago. But Jesse always showed up to games with yellow socks because I could never find the new black ones. And he was always so patient with me, by the way. I would say, I'm so sorry. Like here he's playing without the socks because I can't find either of them. And so when he died and his team got back together for the second half of the season, they took their team picture in yellow socks for Jesse, which is like just so precious. So there he is in his yellow socks.
We got a comment from Ethan that he's hoping you're going to do a reading. Are you going to be
Oh my gosh, let's get to the reading. Let's get to the reading. Oh my gosh, yes, lots of pictures. All right, let's get to the reading. Thank you, Ethan.
Ethel, sorry, Ethel. Ethel, sorry.
Ethel. Oh, Ethel, definitely. Yeah, you get a reading. Yeah. So here's a little duck in a military costume that Jane painted. And they're little sonnets, but there's a lesson in each sonnet. And I wrote the book very differently. I wrote it actually for all ages, and it's a little longer because I loved reading to my kids. And I read every single night, and I loved reading and then having the anticipation of going back to the book and not being able to wait until we got back in bed together and read the book. So this book is long. It's not meant to be read in one sitting. And it's also meant to teach and remind and reinforce the lessons in older people as well. So caregivers, grandparents, parents, older siblings, anybody that's reading this book can read each of the pages and get something out of it in their own life. It's pretty cool because a lot of the essential life skills that we're teaching kids, we're using as adults too. And by the way, you can get to be adults and not know this stuff because you have to learn it. You're not born with these essential life skills. Pretty cool. So the intro is, sometimes we feel blue, but there's something we can do. When we whistle, sing, and hum, we choose love and have a lot of fun. And this is so deep. When you whistle, sing, and hum, it actually stimulates the vagus nerve that wraps around every single organ, and it reduces cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and it increases the good neurochemicals, and it calms you down. It's really cool. So I'm not going to read this. This is my intro really for parents. And I just talked about how I wrote the book and the intention that was put in there so that everybody could get so much out of it. I also wrote in open-ended questions that you can ask. A lot of times I just read my kids a book and I wouldn't ask them questions about it. We wouldn't really discuss. And that's such an opportunity to learn what your kids are thinking and what they've learned. And it's so cool. I also talked about the brave breath, which is what a lot of our kids, we teach this in our program. It's what a lot of our kids do. And it's really kind of one of the favorite things in the program, helps you calm down, as well as brave poses and the science behind the brave pose and how to do it, because these things are in the book. So I'm going to start out. Here we go. And I also wanted to make sure that everyone could see themselves in the pages of this book. I sent Jane a lot of pictures of my own family, of my friends' kids, some of the people that work at the Choose Love movement. So some of our animals that we've had on the farm. And in every page, there is a little duck that is hidden. So when you're looking at the pictures, everybody, look for the little yellow duck that's hidden in every page. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. We are all the same as human beings, both big and small, in the want and need to love and be loved by all. You know what? Hold on for a second. I got to move the chat box because I can't, you know what? I'm just going to take the chat box down, Catherine, and you can let me know if there are questions because I can't see the writing. Choosing love means belonging with those we feel safe with and trust. Feeling nurtured and cared about for happiness is a must. Nurturing, healing love, a message written by a little boy, makes us feel good inside, bringing happiness and joy. Let's see, I can't see it now because it's blocked by, I'm so sorry, you guys, gosh, by this. And I have the book too. Here we go. Let me start over. Nurturing, healing love, a message written by a little boy, makes us feel good inside, bringing happiness and joy. We all feel love and we all feel pain. Our feelings get hurt. This can put our brains and bodies on high alert. We can always find reasons to be anxious and afraid. Our brains want to keep us safe, but our thoughts can keep us dismayed. Pain has its place. It helps us to grow. We get stronger when things are hard. These lessons add to what we know. Sometimes things happen we can't control. Thoughtfully responding with love gives us our personal power back. That is the goal. Breathing deep into our bellies helps calm our fears. When we control our thoughts, our negativity disappears. By getting in between what's happening and how we respond, we can choose love and from conflict, move beyond. And I'll just say we have something called the choice moment model that we teach to the kids, where you get in between what's happening in your life and how you respond. And you take a deep breath in this space, you get curious about what's happening, you let your prefrontal cortex, where logic and reasoning and your break on your instinctual reactions reside, and you can thoughtfully respond with love. And you see on the left side, they're in a fight, and on the right side, they have paused and they've worked it out together, and now they're friends. And look who's walking alongside them, the little duck. Our power as humans is in our ability to choose in everything we face. Do we respond with love and win, or hatred and lose? And you see the faces in the trees. You know how you have those images where you could see one thing or the other? That's kind of what I was thinking about there. Loving ourselves is a good place to start. When we celebrate who we are, we lead from the heart. And you see that these guys are doing brave poses. Our thoughts impact how we feel, and our emotions influence how we behave. When we think about what we think about, we can choose our response and be kind, loving, and brave. So you see, this is really the cognitive triangle. Our thoughts impact directly how we feel, which then determines how we behave, and we can control our thoughts. Being present in the here and now helps us feel calm and safe, whether we're alone or with others. This can put a smile on our face. What we choose to focus on grows, whether it is love or fear. The choices we make throughout the day determine how things appear. So you've got two kids looking out, and one is seeing something that's sad and one is seeing something that's happy, and it's that perspective. And some of that is choice. Is what's happening good or is it bad? A challenge or a threat? We choose how to see things. Is it an opportunity to grow are one to regret. So there are two kinds of stress. There's eustress, which actually leads to resilience. It's good for us stress. It's the stress that gets us out of bed and makes us want to put our best foot forward. And then there is distress, which is too much. It's a threat and we need to ask for help. So you got to think about it. Which one is it? Curiosity opens our heart and mind. Why is someone angry and mean? What could have happened to them? We can use compassion to intervene. So when you see somebody that has a frown on their face, well, you know that they're not feeling good, and you can assume that their thoughts probably aren't good. So you can use compassion to make them feel better. There's a powerful formula that can help us choose love as a thoughtful response so we can rise above. The formula guides us to flourishing in everything we do, making happiness and joy possible for all ages, opening hearts and minds to expand our view. Courage is like a muscle. We practice it to get strong. By doing brave breaths and brave poses, we gain confidence and feel like we belong. Gratitude is mindful thankfulness. There's always something to be grateful for. We can only pay attention to one thought at a time, so show resentment and frustration to the door. Forgiveness is when we let go of something that hurt our feelings. It gives meaning to challenges in our life and puts us on a path of healing. Compassion in action is when we see a need and do something to show we care. This also helps and heals ourselves when our love with others we share. Courage opens our hearts. Gratitude shifts the focus of our lens. Forgiveness frees us from anger and suffering, and compassion in action brings us new friends. Having the courage to be grateful when things don't go our way, forgiving even when the person who hurt us isn't sorry, is the best way to send our anger away. We all make mistakes at times. It's part of being alive. As long as we learn from them, each one is a lesson that helps us thrive. You see, the little ducky is jumped in the water fountain as his exuberance. Oh, and he's displaced the little birdies. It takes courage to say, I'm sorry, when we hurt someone's feelings. This is important for ourselves and others because it leads to healing. Remember, loneliness starts with a thought in our mind. We can change how we feel by focusing on love and being kind. Doing something caring for others has many positive effects. Compassion in action heals our hurts and builds a bridge that connects. Love is belonging. We are always worthy and enough. Love strengthens, heals, and binds us. It protects us when things get tough. Love amplifies hope. We are grateful to be alive. There is a bright future for everyone. When we are connected, we thrive. Opportunities for moments of love and connection are abundant and cause positive change. By offering a smile and looking into another's eyes, a heart can be rearranged. Having a lot of fun is an imperative each day. Feeling good brings smiles and joy and helps us along our way. In fact, the two most important things we can do each day to make us healthy and happy: choose love and play. And there's Jesse running alongside his horses. Have a lot of fun. So that is the book, and I am so happy that we got through with that, and we can talk about it a little bit more. We can answer any questions that we have.
Yeah, do we have any questions from any? That was amazing and beautiful. The illustrations are beautiful, and I love how you teach. You get some teaching in, but in a fun way, and an engaging, and going through the formula and really learning how do we continue to practice the muscle, that muscle, all of them. So how do people purchase your book or the book?
Everyone, you can go on my website, chooselovemovement.org, and you can purchase a copy of the book. You can get a signed copy of the book. You can you can ask me if you'd like to give it as a gift to sign it to somebody, or you can go on Amazon and order the book there. So it's offered in both places.
Do they,
Gift, the great book.
yes, great. It's amazing. Do you sell any of the illustrations? Just curious, as standalone art?
You know what's funny? So we do have the illustrations. They are framed and in our office. They're not hanging. So, you know, Jane gave us those to maybe make prints from or to sell for fundraising. So we really haven't done any of that yet, but I always pictured like a big wall, maybe make some prints and then put a big wall up of the book. So we haven't done that yet, but we're going to.
That's amazing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
people, they could friend the pages of the books. I mean, those illustrations are unbelievable, and they are so inclusive. Like I can see how much thought and intention was put into, just so that kids reading it, no matter where you come from, or I mean, it's very culturally, it really beautiful. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was a really fun project to do.
so fun. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I see, and sorry to barge in here. I see another question, and I think that partially it might have been answered. But the question is, do you have a training program for parents and teachers to learn your techniques?
Yes, I do. And you can go on to chooselovemovement.org and you can register. You'll see a little button that says register. You can register, just put in some information. If it asks for a school, I register by saying School of Life, because I'm technically not a teacher. And then you can have access to our learning management system, which gives you all of our programming. So there's all of the age levels. You'll see all the different grade levels. You'll also see a program for homes. So for parents, yes, absolutely. Go on and download that program. And there's also one for communities. If you want to spread this out into your community, love unites, fear divides, and we really need a message of love and hope in our times right now. So please go on. If you have any questions, you can click the contact button and get in touch with me. Really, it is free. Absolutely. A daycare could register to use this and they would love it. And we have lots of daycares that use this and it's free. So they can log on. If I knew what I knew today, then I would be approaching my school and I would be saying, hey, do you have a life skills program? A one that's comprehensive, one that has a parent component, because, this is so important. Along with academics, we must have life skills. It's as important, but what's really interesting is that when you teach these life skills, the grades and test scores, attendance, graduation rates go up, mental illnesses go down, behavioral issues go down, bullying goes down, and then that benefit actually lasts because these are the same skills and tools that they're going to use throughout middle school, high school, into college, at work, when they have their own families, when they get jobs. So really, really important. They're also a really important part of school safety because when you look at the pathway to violence, it starts with a grievance. And so much of the time we focus on the attack end with hardening schools and active shooter drills and things like that. But in reality, if we could give kids the skills and tools they need to manage the emotional pain that they're in and even grow through it, then that grievance would not escalate. It would be resolved right then and there. And by the way, also, if a school can have a loving, kind, compassionate, hopeful culture, you can reduce and prevent a grievance from even happening. So this is one of the last things to get out, but it's just so important. We don't often think proactively and preventatively, but it is so vital to safety, health, and well-being for everyone, not just kids. And, as Catherine said before, gosh, the formula, it's so simple. It's so simple, but it's not always easy. When, we're facing conflict or, you start practicing the formula and then you master it in one aspect of your life and then life throws you a curveball because life is this beautiful thing that it gives us the opportunities to practice our essential life skills. So you get thrown a curveball and you're like, whoa, I really need to ramp myself up for this. But you have a life skills tool belt now. And so you just go through your tools, you pick them out, you use them, and it's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, amazing. And it's, and you know, even, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, even something as simple as getting off, like cut off in traffic. Are you choosing love for that? I mean, are you choosing love, or are you, you know, raging, taking that brave breath when you get, so that you can react in kinder, you know,
From your prefrontal cortex, right? From your logic and thinking brain, and not from your fear center, because raging happens in your fear center and you are not in control. Catherine, Lynn is asking you to share your hope matrix.
yeah, the Shine Hope formula, absolutely. And then I see we have a question about businesses, doing work in businesses. So Shine Hope is how we teach hope. So you can measure, there's a hope scale, and we teach skills to hope. And it's very, you know, we teach them, so it's very complementary. You know, you need both love and hope and compassion, you know. And so it's stress skills, happiness habits. So how we identify and manage our stress response, how we cultivate happiness habits, how we take inspired actions, cultivate nourishing networks, and eliminate challenges, which are thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. And similar to Scarlett, we teach it. It's a skill. You've got to get good at it. And really, to me, I want people to know what hopelessness is, to identify and articulate what hopelessness is, and have skills, be equipped with skills to get to hope. And we're doing a lot of work in the workplace now. Scarlett, are you doing now work? I mean, you've got programs everywhere. Are you doing anything specific to workplaces, leaders? I mean, you can, can you bring it into politics, please?
Actually, you know what? I have started bridging that gap, because the amazing thing between Democrats and Republicans is that we have 9 out of 10 of the same values. So our value system is actually very similar, believe it or not. Barrett did a study. You can look at that. In fact, out of 27 countries and 1.5 million people, the top 10 values were the same. And by the way, your values don't change. But what changes are your opinions, your judgments, your belief, and your fears. And that is what gets in the way. Fear divides us. And that's what we're seeing right now, Catherine. Love connects us. So we are trying to move into governmental agencies. We have a really courageous governor, Governor Sununu in New Hampshire. He chose Choose Love to be the backbone of his statewide school safety initiative. He understood the value of addressing the root cause, but then it's moved into all aspects of the state. It's in the Department of Health and Human Services. We use it in foster care, bus drivers, first responders, and even in their prison programs, the Department of Corrections. So it can go anywhere. It's a universal language. You're just talking about Choose Love. You know, we are 99.99% genetically the same, Catherine. We're all just humans. We all have that light of humanity in each other. That means that we all have the same basic wants and needs. And one of the biggest ones is to love and be loved. Love, connection, and belonging are essential to success and thriving. And we can actually learn to choose this. You know, it's interesting, in my work in prisons, these men and women didn't know they had a choice. They didn't know that love was a choice for them. And it's some of my favorite work, because seeing them light up with this realization that it's a choice for them is really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and you have to be taught. I mean, and you think a lot of people aren't, they're taught the opposite of love, especially at home and in the environment and in the prison population. And when you think of the positive outcomes in schools as it relates to love and being loving, that applies to the workplace as well: retention, productivity, engagement. You know, if people are being courageous, if they're actively practicing gratitude in the workplace. I mean, we know gratitude is so important for employees and employee morale and recognition. And I mean, these skills translate so easily to the workplace, and we talk about them. There's talk about them being soft, and they're not. To me, they are more important than, they enable us to do big, brave, bold things in the workplace and really drive innovation.
You know, that's a really good point, Catherine, because sometimes we think anger is powerful, but really It's not. It's losing control, and it's really the thoughtful response with love that is the strongest response. So it's realizing what really is, especially physiologically too, being able to control your state is a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and when you're angry, you can't access that creativity, that's where innovation happens. So if we want our employees and coworkers to be innovative and creative and problem solving, keeping them in a fear response, an angry place, sad about that, it's not going to happen from that state. So these are critical to, especially as we become more kind of competitive and their AI, and we need human creativity and innovation, collaboration.
Catherine, do you have 9 values?
What are
Steve
the
is asking.
Yeah, no, I think I think this is yours. What are the 9 values? You were talking about 10 values, or
Oh, the 9 as a starting point. That's a great question, and I just hang on for 1 second and I'll find it.
no, I don't have any values. I'm just kidding. Kidding. But yeah, I don't know what those values are. I mean,
Yeah, it's a really great way to start a conversation, and I have started using it when I came upon this. A group called Barrett did these surveys, and let's see if I can find it. They had 9 out of the 10 core values. Okay, hold on.
but you think about it, you think about what's happening in the world today. Imagine if we taught all of our kids how to choose love, and worked with them on it, and worked with them in families and in communities. And we're actively practicing again and again. How do we choose love? The hierarchy of needs, 7 levels of consciousness. Okay, we have a few minutes left, so maybe we can follow up. Maybe if Steve, if you put your email or something, maybe Scarlett can respond to that. Do you have any final thoughts for us, Miss Scarlett, that you want to share? Why do people want to do this now? Like,
I think that I will say this. I will say this, that when Jesse died and I looked at all of the issues that we were having, and I was realizing that what we were doing wasn't working. I wanted to take the path less traveled. I wanted to address the root cause. And I realized when I was looking at these essential life skills that I didn't have the majority of them. Now, I grew up in a good family. I went to school, I went to college, I worked my entire life, and so I didn't learn these essential life skills. And so I became a mom with 2 boys, and I loved my boys, but I couldn't give them these essential life skills that they need to flourish, really. And so I learned them as an adult. And so that's the beauty of this book, that we learn, we grow. Even if you're there saying, oh, I already know all of this, well, we have to be reminded, actually, and we have to practice these skills and tools every single day. We have to be intentional about them. So picking up this book, sharing it with your kids, but also for yourself, you'll pull something out of it and you'll go, oh gosh, I forgot about that. I should be more grateful. I said I was going to write a gratitude list in the morning, and I know that that's a 10% mood boost when I do. And so, you'll pull a good practice out, and then you'll be modeling that for your kids. I think it's so important. Happiness takes work. It takes effort. It takes personal responsibility. It says, It's the choices that we make every day. And I think it's easy to fall into victimization and blaming other people. We see a lot of that out there. You know, in politics that we were just talking about, it's the other person's fault. I mean, both think that the other is the end of democracy. And it's like, no, you know, it's so easy to blame somebody because then they think it's their fault. But once we do that, we lose complete control. So we need to take responsibility. We need to choose love. We need to be role modeling this for other people. And this book, I think, will help all ages to do that, and a great reminder.
I just want to say thank you both so much. This has been a wonderful global read. I have my own book. It's not going anywhere, but I do think I will buy a few to give to some people that I think would love to use this with their children. And I was the very lucky recipient of a child that was being read to. And so I know how powerful this is. Thank you both very, very much. And we are very lucky. I think I said it in the chat. We are so lucky because we have Scarlett again for a global read on the 14th. Thank you very much for being so generous with your time, Scarlett. And that is on her other book, the book that you see behind her, Nurturing Healing Love. And so I've put the link in, register for that. Thank you very, very much, Catherine. I am going to check out your work because I certainly can do with some of that. I need to be reminded. And I hope that everyone is going to join us again for future sessions. And please feel free to share this recording that I'll be sending out afterwards. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.